Hey everyone, Karo the Artist here, and welcome back to another Ben 10 breakdown. The Ultimate Alien Force era of Ben 10 took itself seriously in a way that Classic and Omniverse never did. And whether or not you were a fan of those type of episodes, or more importantly, whether or not they were pulled off right, I think we all can agree that with enough level of care, it would create some of the best and most memorable moments in all of Ben 10. Now, drama isn't exactly the primary factor that draws people into the show, but adding in deeper character perspectives on the grander scheme of action makes the storytelling feel more three-dimensional, especially if something was built up for the first half of the season. And all of this, of course, leads me to talking about Max's fake death scene. To catch y'all up to speed, Grandpa Max has been missing for the first half of this season and has been leaving behind clues for Ben, Gwen, and Kevin to follow his trail and uncover the grand alien conspiracy while also assembling a team of his own. They finally meet back with Grandpa Max in this episode, but to take out the D and alien nest and prevent them from spreading xenocytes throughout the entire world, Grandpa Max quickly modifies a null void gun and uses it as a bomb to take out the hybrid's entire operation and put a huge dent in their plans.
You'll have to take it from here. I know you can do it. I believe in you, in all of you.
This scene was not only one of the most memorable scenes in Alien Force, but was a pretty pivotal character moment for Ben as well. Now, in Ben's perspective, he is truly on his own. He still was under the guise that he would eventually meet up with Grandpa Max, but now that he's dead, Ben must fully grow into the leader that he needs to be to put an end to this worldwide invasion.
It's up to someone to protect this planet, and like it or not, I think it's up to us.
It was this moment of acceptance that I think Ben truly grew into his Alien Force persona and became the character that many consider to be peak Ben Tennyson and the best characterization of him throughout the franchise. Which is why some might feel that when it's revealed in season 2 that Grandpa Max's null void grenade didn't actually kill him, but sent him to the null void.
Why don't you tell me about it over a bowl of my famous centipede gumbo?
Which begs the question, does having Grandpa Max survive negate all of this character development for Ben? I mean, he still goes through it, he still grows as a character, but for such a pivotal scene in the show, does it now carry less weight knowing that Grandpa Max doesn't actually kill himself off? There's a lot of different ways to look at this, and this is a topic I see come up every now and then ever since this episode aired, or should I say ever since the episode that revealed Grandpa was alive. And I of course have many thoughts on this, but I want to hear what y'all think as well. So make sure to leave a comment and stick around for the community poll at the end of this episode, because this is something I really go back and forth with myself. Like, now that we've gotten the rest of Alien Force, Ultimate Alien, and Omniverse, of course I want Max to stick around. He's probably my favorite character and offers a lot to the show every time he comes back. But at the same time, what would the show have been like if they truly did kill off Grandpa Max? I feel like that's some speculation worth looking into. Oh, I almost forgot, this is the episode where Gwen randomly has a brother. Yeah, it's that forgettable. But if this is your first breakdown and you'd like to know how my rating system works, there's a detailed description down below, along with a link to all of my previous breakdowns, but by all means, watch this one first. I'm sure you'll still enjoy yourself. Before we dive in, I got a few quick updates, so let's buzz through those, and then we'll jump right into the episode. First, I want to say yes, all of you top-tier detective sleuths were able to intellectually deduce that I did indeed put the wrong number for the total rating score in the last video. I put 18 when it's supposed to be 19. It's because when I was recording, I added on an extra point to one of the categories and didn't change the total. My bad. But for real, thank y'all for catching that and bringing it to my attention. I'll try not to slip up like that in the future, but lately, balancing all these different projects, I have been a little bit scatterbrained. But next, I got a pretty big announcement for y'all. So yeah, with the release of 5YL Chapter 11, we are doing yet another promotional live stream. This one centered around Danny Phantom. With the Phantom Fancast, we hope to connect more to the Danny Phantom side of the 5YL fandom. We get a lot of love to the Ben 10 side, but that's just because y'all are so much more vocal and present. The Danny Phantom fans are always kind of scattered and hiding out in the dark depths of the internet. And while there are many Danny Phantom fans out there, there doesn't seem to be one collective place for them all to share their love for the show, so that's what we're hoping this event will be. We got a lot of great plans for it. The highlight for me is the fact we're gonna have Steven Silver on the Fancast. I'm super excited about that. He's the character designer for Danny Phantom. He's also worked on other shows like Kim Possible, Clerks, and the Johnny Test reboot. Ash and I, of course, are gonna do some live drawing and discussion about Danny Phantom. We're gonna have a fan art contest. If you're interested in joining that, please go to the description down below and check out the tweet with all the different rules on it. You will need a Twitter to enter the contest just because it'll be easier for us to organize, so yeah, make a Twitter if you don't have one. And a lot of other fun surprises we're still still putting together. So make sure y'all tune in at 1:30 p.m. EST this Halloween for the Phantom Fancast. Shortly after, 5YL Chapter 11 will be released, and I can't wait for y'all to read this one. I'm super proud of this chapter. Lastly, of course, we have last week's poll. This one was asking y'all if you felt Ben's date with Julie went well last episode. And the winning vote, 79% of y'all said, for the most part. When going through the comments, a lot of y'all are looking at it from the perspective of the actual date rather than how Ben personally handled his relationship with Julie. And you know, that's what the question was, so it's interesting that a lot of y'all looked at it from this angle. So thank y'all for participating in that discussion. Let's move on to the episode breakdown. On May 17th, 2008, the episode Max Out had first aired on Cartoon Network, written by Jim Krieg. When Ben hears that his cousin Ken has gone missing, he convinces Kevin to bring them to the town of Santa Maria to investigate. Meanwhile, Grandpa Max is also in that town, also investigating the missing case of Ken. It turns out the hybrid were using Ken as bait to capture Max, and now the trio have to break in to save the day. Coffee shop. Very straight and to the point. This shot handles the rain well because there's actual collision with the puddles on the ground. A lot of the times for animation, specifically television animation, when it's raining, they just slap on a rain texture over the animated footage. But even when the ground is in view, you don't get these contact ripples, so it looks very flat and ruins the perspective. But when you add them, you know, it's subtle, but it helps. Same with the water dripping off of Grandpa Max with his hands and his head. All the small details like that. Good shit. So I don't know if it's supposed to hide the reveal this is Max yet, or if it's an animation error, but his shirt doesn't have any of the flowers when he sits down.
Like to hear about the special? What brings you to Santa Mira?
If you couldn't tell, that's Diane Delano. Her most notable role in Ben 10 is, of course, Mauve Riedel. Yeah, still no flowers. Also, these are the worst salt and pepper shakers in the world if you can't even get the product out. There's no holes.
Here's your special.
Wow, great reflexes. Max reacts to that so quickly and is pretty strong with that backhand. Sends it spiraling. That probably hurt because the DN alien's wearing an ID mask, so Max just headbutts some metal. There you go. Or not, because just like the pilot, the ID mask comes off in a very rubbery animation, and it still has Caucasian skin texture when it's disconnected. I don't know, I always thought ID masks were made out of metal, but this is 2 episodes now proving me wrong. Damn, yeah, Max is insanely strong. How are you gonna be 60 and push with your legs and break through a table like that? You hear that sound? It's like a Looney Tune running or something. Or a Hanna-Barbera character.
I said just coffee.
And he's got a one-liner. And car wash. Alright, if you missed the last video, I was pointing out how a lot of locations in the UAF era are just whatever the building literally is on a big sign. I honestly don't have very strong feelings about that, but still pretty funny to point out. Also, loving the textures on the sky in the background here. This is a first for Alien Force.
You want me to waste my time looking for your cousin?
Car broke down at Santa Mira.
Santa Mira, so if you caught Max mentioning that at the beginning of the episode, you'd know that Max and the cousin are in the same location. Should be obvious, but honestly, I totally missed that a few times.
And I'm supposed to care.
Because he's my brother.
Get in.
Pretty sure we all know what I'm gonna say to that. I'm trying to figure out if this car is CG or not. This might be the first appearance of Kevin's car as a CG model, but I really can't tell. The headlights very much diffuse it. It just looks so perfectly drawn though. I swear it's CG.
Ken is...
Brother's name is Ken?
Ooh, we get a little bit of shake with the Kevin's car driving. What's your folks' names? Sven and Jen? I'm talking to you, Ben. Wow, Kevin, you're so clever.
Yes, our names rhyme and you noticed.
I get why Ben would be annoyed, because he's hearing that his whole life, but I mean, it is kind of strange. Especially because Ben and Gwen aren't even brother and sister, they're cousins, so both sets of parents all agree to make sure their kids' names all rhymed. Makes them unique.
Ken's the coolest guy in the world.
Kevin's got some competition for coolest guy. Also, I really love this shot. It's got the collision. It's got some foreground and background rain. A little tricky to see, but it's there. And they animated his wipers. I think this is our first time seeing the Kevin car with wipers. Also, the Kevin car. Kevin's car should have had a name. You'd think of all people, Kevin would definitely name his car. What do you think Kevin's car should be named if Kevin was gonna give it a name? Let me know down in the comments. I'll pick my favorite couple and showcase them next video.
Welcome to Santa Mira.
You know, I feel like I've started a new trend for hating on Alien Force's dark backgrounds. I get a lot of people just randomly sending me DMs and replying to my comments on completely irrelevant videos of people making jokes about Alien Force's dark background, so guess that's the new trend. But it also makes me want to highlight when it's used well. You know, with this, I feel like the strong silhouetted atmosphere really works, especially with the rain going on. And here it's dark, but all the windows are lit up and you can see the cloudy sky. Put a lot of focus on Kevin's car. Look at that, Kevin's obeying the traffic law. It's a green light. Although, in this shot, the wipers are in a centered axis towards the middle of the window. But here they connect connect to the edges. And again, the car looks very smooth. I really do think this car is CG. Took them 7 episodes, but now Kevin's car's got a CG model. That offers a lot more possibilities and expansion for action sequences featuring Kevin's car, so good for them.
Ken is totally cool.
There's the coffee shop that Max was at. Is it the same background too? Oh, you know what? I don't think it is. The coffee shop building itself looks the same, but look at the way it overlaps this tree and also the angle and puddles on the road. So I think they reused the literal coffee shop building and just reorganized everything else.
The awesome mobile.
See, even Ken names his cars. Gotta step up your game, Kevin. What's your car's name? My car's name is the Dank Tank. Pretty sure y'all could put that together. Also, Gwen, you could make a shield above them, you know? She looks very upset to be out in this rain.
Bingo.
You found a bingo game.
I think the delivery of that line makes it funny. Kevin's a great character when it comes to dry humor. Like that you can see the shadows casted into the garage and see this shadow move up. Ooh, duct tape all over the car. Been there. You'd be surprised. My right mirror fell off and I used some electrical tape and that thing held for a year and a half through snow.
That thing makes the rust bucket look like a Ferrari.
What a dramatic zoom out. They even got motion blur on it.
They've already locked up for the night.
You know, Big Chill can phase and probably unlock it from the inside. Kevin just loves breaking into stuff though. This is the 4th episode where he's broken into somewhere.
Ken is so cool, he'll be happy to pay for that. Dirty laundry. This guy really is a class act.
Kevin is just hardcore judging this guy. Maybe it is a jealousy thing in the sense that Ben and Gwen think that he's cooler than Kevin and, you know, gotta protect that street cred. What does Ben think he's accomplishing going through this book right now? He's like, I gotta pretend I'm busy.
Well, alien tech.
He doesn't know anything about the aliens.
Well, the aliens know who you guys are. It's not that hard to connect a family tree.
What is this?
Oh, another blurred zoom out. See, normally this technique would be to combine animation frames or something. Is that what they're doing? Yeah, the lines look super thin in this shot, and they look like the same thickness here. So yeah, this is just their way of combining the frames.
But the Omnitrix doesn't like it.
Also, why is it beeping? Is it trying to warn him about something? Because it's never beeped around D and aliens before, or else it would have given away that they were behind the whole fires bursting around Grover Mill plotline from the 3rd episode, and maybe given them a heads up when they were in the high-breed ship. Maybe not that the Omnitrix has been on long enough. I might be jumping way ahead, but this kind of supports my theory that the Omnitrix is starting to develop some artificial intelligence. If you want to know more about that, please check out my Why Ben Gets the Wrong Alien video. It's a great video. I worked really hard on the script to that. OR Ash did a great job narrating it. So yeah, link below.
What's going on here?
What are you doing in my garage?
You want I should call the sheriff?
Alright, these two are obviously DN aliens, but when he says that, does this mean the sheriff is a DN alien? Or are they just trying to protect their cover for whatever reason? Because I mean, it's obvious that they're not human.
Yeah. What is that stuff?
See, I feel like they should be able to recognize that's DN alien slime. That's a pretty cool reveal. So the lightning seems to have an effect on the ID masks. And when the background lights up, you can see so much more in this garage. Look at all this stuff. I'm standing by my earlier comment that I do think the dark atmosphere really works well for this episode. But again, I just still feel bad for the background artists who make all of this stuff just for it to go away. Do they make it knowing that it's only going to be visible during this thunder flash? Or do they draw this expecting it to appear in the episode the whole time? Ugh. I forgot that they can use their powers with the ID mask still on. But is he spitting through the mask right now? I guess that makes sense since we saw that the masks are some type of rubbery texture, so it's gotta open up. But, you know, at this point, might as well just take the mask off. Yeah, there's a lot more motion blur and camera shake in this episode. I really like it. It reminds me of the classic series direction style. God, that stuff is disgusting. The masks come off as if they're made of some type of rubber. You know, in this frame, they kind of look like the Watcher. So here he's opening up the Omnitrix correctly this time. Beautiful lighting effects for this Omnitrix. I love when they put the effort into making the ring light up and then seeing the hologram build its presence. It doesn't just click on, it spawns outside of the dial. And it makes the 2 bolts on the side pop out, and it still has that black texture. Maybe it's supposed to have that black texture. I notice it's there on a lot of the close-ups, but generally the Omnitrix doesn't have this. And all of the aliens are slightly at an angle too to match the Omnitrix. I really like that. This is some very good animation and lighting too. The aesthetics of this episode have been great so far. Get him, Ben. Oh, that's a sweet move. They're barely even trying. Ben roars at one, Kevin just stands there, and the other runs into it. These DN aliens are getting whooped.
Got him. Now what?
Back to this coffee shop again, and for a 3rd time, they remade the background. Same coffee shop image, just with different composition. This time they threw in the truck, and all the lights are off.
There's nothing here.
More contact particles on the characters. Really bold move to make the rain last this long in the episode so far. We see the same energy cuffs used on Kevin in the pilot episode. You know, I wonder how much this cloth really is preventing him from speaking or talking. Because we've seen they're also able to open up their entire upper torso. So he should be able to do that to free himself. I don't know, maybe he likes this. No judgment here. And the beeping. Maybe it's because they're close to a nest or something? I'm just saying, it's never beeped around DNA aliens before, so this is a new feature.
Unknown DNA sample acquired.
Ooh, and the first time the Omnitrix has ever talked.
That's new.
Yuri Lowenthal does the voice for the Omnitrix in Ultimate Alien Force, and I'm pretty sure Omniverse. And you can hear this is Yuri.
Unknown DNA sample acquired.
But later on when he voices the Omnitrix, he does it in the same voice he uses for Ben. Whereas here, he's either using a lower register or they pitch it down. I'm gonna see what happens if I try to pitch it back up.
Unknown DNA sample acquired.
Yep, that sounds more like Ben.
You want to look at this?
Part of Max's shirt, except now it has the flower on it.
This is from his favorite shirt.
I love how both Ben and Grandpa have a favorite shirt. That's pretty much their only shirt. At least Kid Ben did. Hello, Mochi. How you doing, my little cookie crumble crisp? Yeah, now it's torture time.
Max wanted to find some kid
Where is my brother?
hatchery.
Well, there's a place called the hatchery. What is a hatchery? Is that common knowledge and I'm just dumb? Oh, it's literally where they hatch chickens. Of course. See, that's what I thought it was, but I thought that was like way too easy. I guess I was just under the impression that most chickens were hatched on the farms and then shipped to wherever they need to go. But then again, corporations taking over the friggin' world.
I have no idea where my grandfather is. I don't know anything.
Our first look at Ken. So Ken is voiced by Will Friedle, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right. A lot of y'all might know him as either Terry McGinnis from Batman Beyond or Ron Stoppable from Kim Possible, but to me, he will always be Eric Matthews from Boy Meets World. I was really into sitcoms when I was like 8 or 9.
Who are you?
I'm glad you asked, Ken. I think the best way to...
I think it's really funny to hear this DNA alien just casually talking to Ken. This thing would be terrifying coming at your face if you were strapped to a chair. A lot of quick establishing shots, but they're handled so well. They're always keeping up with the contact droplets, and you can even see the clouds moving in the background. And the camera shakes a little bit when Kevin's car pulls up. You're not wearing your seatbelt though, Ben. Even Kevin and Gwen are wearing their seatbelts. Come on. Basic traffic laws 101. Gross. So I'm assuming at regular hatcheries, this is probably filled with normal water and not this green slime or whatever. If it even is filled with water. I don't know anything about hatcheries. Wow, art imitates real life. It really is just called the hatchery. And here are some big buckets of water. Yeah, this layout is pretty accurate. The more you know.
Weather machine.
Ah, yes.
Cold and rainy.
Continuity. Oh, this one seems to have some green wiring. I don't believe the last one had that. But the last one also did make it snow. This one's just making it rain. The angle of the water droplets change to match the perspective at which they're looking at the tower.
How do we get in without being spotted?
Oh man. Yeah, there's definitely better ways for them to break in.
Who'd be crazy enough to swim in that?
And of course, Max would. Excellent water animation. We have the surface ripples, the reflection, and the shape diffusion underneath. Not to mention the constant water texture. This episode has a lot of effort put into the supporting animations of all of the different weather and water effects. All that plumber gear and you don't have something that helps you breathe underwater. You can also see he's missing his Hawaiian shirt now. At least at this point in the episode, maybe implying it's gone forever since we saw a piece of it ripped off. Now, something's definitely going on right here. You can clearly tell this shot was stretched, and then when it comes here and morphs back to its normal proportions, look at this morph right here. It's kind of hard to see if you don't have an eye for it, but then right here you can see the transition back to the regular aspect ratio. Even the length of the DNA alien and the position of the railing is warping.
Nani?
Tennyson strength. A null void gun. Look at that. I really like the unique shape of this, but I wish it had a little bit more detail. Like the last null void gun, it looked pretty cool, but it was also just a gun. Whereas this one, it's got a nice little underhandle, but it's still just simple shapes. Also, we got that red and silver color scheme again. But when it shoots this beam, it turns the target negative and then warps it into the funnel. That is a really sweet looking effect. I like that a lot. Nice work, Max. And here we get a good look at Max's combat outfit. This shows up every now and again in the series. Not too complicated of a design, but I like it. I love this ripply, misty aura off the plumber's badge. Like it's giving off this special energy. I can't tell if I said that right. I have headphones on. And a brighter color palette with soft shadows sweeping across his face. Help! Is each DNA alien this slow of a transformation? Because there's a ton of DNA aliens, but if each one takes like a couple hours for them to get going, I'm surprised that none of them has escaped and like reported to the news or whatever.
It's okay, boy.
Alright, never mind. I guess even if you aren't fully covered, the second the xenocyte takes a hold of you, it plugs itself into your mind. Only the physical overtaking takes a bit. Love the design of this taser. Aw, no. You got played, Max. You know, they could walk all the way to the edge of it and then get in. They didn't need to start all the way back here. Now this is a lovely looking background.
You have been a great irritation to us.
You can see a whole bunch of empty xenocyte crates over here. Come on, clean up your office, Hybrid. You got a chain of command under you. Give them something to respect. But look how many layer passes there are to give this shot some dimension. This background, this connection of wires, this connection of wires, characters, and then finally the front connection of wires. That's 5 different layers to give this perspective.
We are only hours away from completing the most crucial stage of our plan.
So far, it's all leading up to this. I like this digital smoke too. Normally I prefer traditionally animated smoke, but this looks pretty good. Looks very frosty and cold.
Why change cans?
Bait. With you out of the way, there is no one who can stop us.
What about Ben 10? The other hybrid knew about him. You're telling me that they're more threatened by Max than the guy who could change into 10 aliens? Although Max has been figuring out everything. Ben can brute force his way into a hybrid base all day, but Max is the one figuring out the whole conspiracy, so you know what? I get it.
Where is she?
Man, Ben, just transform. Come on. So far, Alien Force Ben seems to transform only in like absolutely need to situations, where I feel like classic series Ben and then later on Alien Force 3 Ben forward are much quicker to be like, oh, is there a problem? Let's become an alien. There's a lot of pros and cons to that. You know, perhaps Ben wants to make sure he doesn't wear out the Omnitrix battery if an upcoming battle is going to be more necessary than right now. But I mean, if Gwen gets sucked underwater and you don't know if you can get her out, yeah, I'd say go for it. Turn into an alien. Unless she does this, of course, you know, most powerful being in the universe. So yeah, it all worked out, but I mean, my argument still stands. Especially last episode in Peer Pressure, he could definitely transform more often than he usually does.
It's about to get worse.
Also, the way she's moving, it looks like she's walking along the bottom of this thing, and Ben and Kevin are standing on some type of platform. But the way they come up from the surface and act like Gwen's stuck further down there, I don't know, maybe I thought this was deeper than it really was. So now they're going back under. And yeah, look how deep it is. So how are they just casually doing this right now? This is a great shot of all the xenocyte eggs. What would you call them? It's a lot of DNA aliens.
But we kick much butt.
That didn't sound as cool as you thought it did, Kevin. Alright, see, now in the very same episode, he's activating the Omnitrix a completely different way than earlier. So if it's happening in the same episode, like, this just shows there's multiple ways to activate the Omnitrix. Although my personal favorite is using the rectangles. But also, Big Chill's hologram is uncloaked. The first time we saw it, it was cloaked. And when the dial pops up, these little guarding lines disappear. And right here, the Omnitrix ends kind of weird. You know, they were on a roll for a long time, so I can excuse all of this. Except the Omnitrix isn't giving off any light. That's a little disappointing.
Big chill.
So I was slowing this down to check out the water animation. But when he's coming out of the water, you can see the Omnitrix disappears for a few frames, then comes back when his wings wipe. We're at the point where Kevin's absorbing always sounds the same no matter what he touches. See, he gets the metal sound effect for absorbing some type of concrete texture. I don't mind though, I like that his absorbing has a signature sound, but we did start off the series with him having a different sound effect depending on what material he absorbs. Let's see, here it's quite a bit too dark to really see Kevin against the background. They should either brighten up the background or brighten up Kevin, but having them both dark makes him hard to telegraph where he's at. What a coincidence.
Wait!
Damn. The shield reveals all of the patterns on this completely black background. Yeah, the outdoors was fine this episode, but indoors, it is starting to become a void again.
It's my brother!
Oh no. Damn, Big Chill's wings are huge right now. So here he's shown to be flying, and when he transforms, he kind of teleports forward a little bit down to the ground. Here he pretty much completely disappears. You can see he fades out and turns blurry. And he's gone. And now we flash back and boom, now Ben's over here.
He's actually less cool than his car.
My God, Kevin. Is this the first time she's like made a mana capture or whatever you'd call this, a mana rope, and doesn't have to continuously concentrate on it for it to remain manifested? This is the first time I'm remembering. Maybe she did it before. Yeah, see, even up in this little grate right here, they're still keeping up with the rain. Beep, beep.
Severe genetic damage detected.
Alright, so the first time we saw it beeping around the slime, it was near the Awesomobile. So perhaps the Omnitrix was only beeping because the transformation was incomplete. This is the first time it's been in the vicinity of an incomplete DNA alien. All the other DNA aliens he's been around have been full-on DNA aliens, and the Omnitrix didn't beep, but man, is it drawn pretty friggin' funky right here.
Hello?
Should we attempt to repair?
Man, that's crazy. How do y'all feel about the Omnitrix talking? I've always been very indifferent about it, and I don't really hear people talk about it a lot, so I don't know if it's generally liked or disliked, or if, like me, a lot of people just don't really give a shit.
What are you doing?
Yeah, for such a pivotal scene, the Omnitrix does not look that well drawn. It's looked great in the episode so far, but now when it matters, guess not. So is this supposed to be a defense from the Xenocyte? Because it's already possessing Ken, and I was under the impression it's one Xenocyte per host. So this couldn't be trying to possess Ben too, unless it's trying to leave Ken for Ben.
Whoa, inside the Omnitrix.
So do y'all think this is really happening? Or if this is supposed to be some type of visual representation for what's metaphorically happening? Like, what are Gwen and Kevin seeing right now from this perspective? Because last time we saw inside the Omnitrix was in Secret of the Omnitrix, and I guess you could say, you know, different art style, different representations, but this is more of like, you know, some type of trippy DNA dream world. Oh god, I just rubbed out my contact. Whereas beforehand, it was quite literally the inside of the Omnitrix. No. Although great tentacle animation. See, and then he opens his eyes and he's holding this. So I feel like none of that really happened. It was just like for the audience. Or at least like it happened in Ben's mind. It's a little confusing, but a neat sequence nonetheless.
I captured Grandpa. Needed him out of the way. Their plan, it's terrible.
So he knows their plan too? Perhaps from being connected to the DNA alien hive mind?
I'm coming with
You
you.
wanna help? Cool.
Hey, Kevin's coming around.
Grandpa Max!
Wow, they really kept Grandpa alive? I mean, I'm glad, don't get me wrong, but you know, the hybrid should have just killed him. First reunion. This is nice.
I always knew you could do it, Ben.
And Gwen.
I'm so proud of you.
Holy shit, Grandpa.
You too, Kevin.
Oh my god. Good for Kevin. He genuinely seems pleased to have Grandpa's respect. Anybody would be.
Initiate Project DNA.
Project DNA. Wow, what a creative name. Oh, these things are pretty neat. Flying cheese graters.
They're shipping those things somewhere.
So they gotta grow the Xenocyte eggs underwater and then marinate them in the tubs of special goo so that they can latch them on to human beings. Wow, that is a lot of trucks.
Go.
What are you gonna do?
What I have to.
So Grandpa's staying back to take care of the hybrid. You know, in this regard, Grandpa should have gone with the main team to take out most of the Xenocyte eggs, and Ben should have been left to fight the hybrid. Boom. One-man explosion blew up a truck and lifted it into the air. Why can't she always be this powerful? This is a pretty famous error. Ben's mouth doesn't actually move when he says jet ray. Yeah, they're going all out now. This is what I like. Go for it, Kenny.
I have had it!
Look at all this crazy destruction she's able to do. Nobody else even has to do anything. You know what? Gwen should have stayed back and fought the hybrid.
Up there!
God damn. So his hits are able to match the strength of that hybrid because the hybrid's punches come in contact with it and it stops there. Didn't we just see a hybrid whooping Humongousaur's ass? How is Max able to do this?
It's over!
Be an alien horde.
Although these DNA aliens were kind of sloppily copy and pasted over each other, if you really look at them, a lot of them overlap in places they shouldn't. Like this foot is on top of this one. It's like they were a brush or something. Like they made a DNA alien brush and just kind of went like this and hoped for the best. See, this is a big old mess. This has no depth. No void projector.
You think you can imprison us all?
No.
Wait, why? In fact, that's probably a better idea than what he's about to do now. Just send all of the hybrid and the army and the eggs and everything into the null void and just, you know, it'd probably take a good 10 minutes or so. You know, they'd have to fight them all and then... But it's possible, right? Although now that I think about it, if he doesn't blow them all up right now, some of them could escape and warn the other hybrids. So blowing them all up in one go perhaps is the best solution. I just don't want to see Grandpa go.
Without the focusing lens,
No, please!
it's the only way to make sure they can't do to the rest of the world what they did to Ken.
And he's kind of right, you know? When we get to the final battle at the end of season 2, they do only have command of La Soledad. Perhaps if he didn't blow up the hatchery, they would have spread to all over the entire world.
I believe in you, in all of you.
And the wink. Aw, the scene used to get me as a kid. Well, it's a little overdramatic, but you know, I'm glad they're playing it serious. I'd much rather this scene be played a little overdramatic than underdramatic, you know? Not to keep promoting Omniverse negativity and such, but I feel like this is a type of scene that Omniverse is always afraid to do. Even the classic series, you know, I don't have to put all this on Omniverse. Like really treat a scene as serious as it can be. No jokes, no goofy music to balance out the emotional tone. You know, I miss when the drama was played straight in the series. And you know, Omniverse did have serious scenes. You don't have to go into the comments and start defending it. I know, trust me, I've seen the show. But you gotta admit, nothing really hit like these did. There was always that layer of the cartoonish filter to it, where I feel like this scene is genuinely doing its best to get you to care. It's playing the writing straight, it's playing the musical score straight, the actors are putting their all into it. Bravo. And this explosion right here is fantastic. It's not just a boom. The building gets covered in electricity, massive explosion, even the ground erupts and then gets all sucked into this air vortex. Oh, it's fantastic. But the way that all of the clouds rippled into each other and then you see this white flash, it kind of does imply that Max survived. Like, I bet this was his transport into the null void.
That was pretty hardcore.
It's up to someone to protect this planet. It's up to us.
Such a great ending. Oh, and a little MCU after credits scene, the results of the explosion. They're survivors. Very ominous. I like that they draw the characters very staticky in addition to doing a digital effect on it too. These work very well together. One doesn't overpower the other. Let's dive in. I'm gonna start off by giving the plot of this a 3. No, it's got a great story. I really like that we're finally catching up with Max and seeing a little bit of his side of what's been happening. Because so far he's just been a hologram and, you know, that one flashback from the pilot. But seeing Max as like a stealth lone agent and how capable he is as not only a detective but as a fighter, I enjoy seeing that because it shows how Grandpa Max was able to sleuth his way through all of the conspiracy eras and leave behind these messages for Ben and Gwen the first couple of episodes. But you know, overall, it's still a pretty basic plot. The pacing of this episode was a little bit slow. You know, there was a lot to cover, so I'm glad that they took their time with it. But there are times where I feel like some scenes could have been shortened, and in return, other scenes could have been extended. Like the build up to this episode could have gone a little bit faster so that the ending payoff, we could sit in it a little longer. And of course, you know, the glaring fact that Gwen suddenly has a brother now who has never been mentioned before and post this episode is never mentioned again. That does shake things up in a little bit of a weird way. I like that they built up to him for a bit. The fact that Ben looks up to him. They mention a lot of history between Gwen and Ben and the brother, so it does add some connection when we finally see him halfway through the episode, but it's still just all spoken exposition. It's hard to really care about a character like Kevin, and normally I wouldn't be so hard on one-off characters, but you know, it's Gwen's brother. I just feel like that's too big of a bomb to drop and just say like, hey, yeah, he's been here this whole time and we had all these adventures with him. He's just never come up before. But it doesn't ruin the episode. It's just, it makes the episode kind of weird, given the fact that apparently his capture was so important that it lures Max into this trap. Also, the ending shot, at least for me, it implies that he's going to stick around. Like, I wouldn't have minded if they gear him up with some plumber tech or whatever. He definitely seemed interested in fighting. And for someone who has never heard about any of this alien stuff before to be brave enough to just pick up a metal bar and start whacking at these DN aliens, you know, that takes guts. He's definitely got the Tennyson fighting spirit in him. But whatever, I don't need to harp on this for so long. I'm sure y'all get it. So it just seems like a lot of effort was built to developing this character that we will literally never see again. And I forgot where this fact came from. I don't feel like looking it up right now, but I remember that it was retroactively stated that Kenny, Ben's future son, was named after Gwen's brother. So it's like, it seemed like they had more plans for him. Maybe they developed this character expecting to use him later. So if they're ever like, oh, there's a plot and we need this character, hey, let's just bring Gwen's brother back, then yeah, it makes sense to develop this background. But see, I'm going into it and I don't need to go into it. It's weird that Gwen has a brother for one episode. Let's just leave it at that. But yeah, 3 in plot, I feel like it's very fair. The episode itself is fine. It's just slow paced. I also don't really get what the Hybrid's big plan was. You can kind of figure it out with context clues, but this is something I feel should have been quote unquote spoon fed for us, because it kind of makes Grandpa's sacrifice a little less impactful if we don't exactly know what he's sacrificing for. Because even at the end of this very episode, we see that many DN aliens and xenocytes survive. And yeah, I know Grandpa doesn't really get sacrificed, and perhaps that's why the DN aliens and the xenocytes survived, because a good chunk of them was just teleported and not blown up for half a mile like Grandpa intended. Characterization is going to get a 4. The main trio were still very on point for how we've handled the characters so far. Ken, you know, he's a likable character, but we didn't get too much from him. We got a lot about characters talking about him, but he himself, you know, we didn't get enough time with him to really learn about this character, which we unfortunately never see again. But Grandpa, I feel like they did very well with him. I like that they're playing him as a straight up action hero now. In the original series, he'd have his moments, but they'd still always regress him back to being an old man who's retired, can't really hold his own in a fight and has to like use the environment around him. But here he's just straight up whooping ass. And yeah, he's old, but I don't even care. If all the characters are gonna eventually hype him up to be one of the greatest plumbers of all time, I would expect no less. I especially love how that ending sacrifice scene was handled. They didn't sit in it too long. They didn't drag it on, give Grandpa some big long dramatic speech. He was kind of just like, all right, it's up to you guys now, take care. And the characters didn't have enough time to react to it, but at the same time, if they had enough time to react to it, the hybrid could have gotten away. So yeah, short, sweet, little bit of dramatic, but it's great for the characters. Visuals, I'm surprised, but I'm gonna give it a 3. All of the fantastic animation and little sub-animated effects, it's great. But the slow pacing of the episode doesn't help. The episode doesn't give a lot for the characters to do until we reach the very end. It's a lot of sneaking around and investigating, which is great for the plot, but not so much for the visuals. The background started off strong, but the further we went in the episode, the more it started regressing into an incomprehensible black void. And the times when Ben did transform into an alien, we didn't get much from them. Humongosaur, I'm pretty sure, just literally roared. And Big Chill and Jet Ray were there for about less than a minute. And now we're 7 episodes in, and we still haven't seen all 10 of Ben's aliens yet. Importance, yeah, it's gonna get a 5. That's kind of a no-brainer. The first 6 episodes have been leading up to where's Max been and what has he been doing all this time, and this episode brings everything together. And of course, Max apparently fucking dies. Or at least the characters think so. But I'm very much enjoying this linear narrative of Alien Force. So far, every single episode has been unskippable because it contains very important elements that have payoffs later that wouldn't make sense unless you got the origin. Whereas Classic, it would set some things up, but then when they come back later, you get enough of what happened before to understand not seeing the other episodes. Like, it would help to see the other episodes, but you're still fine without them. Alien Force, you really do need to watch it consecutively and get all of the information as it's introduced, not just to fully understand the plot, but a lot of these characters' actions and motivations are very much dependent on the chemistry they have with each other and how they react to situations. But entertaining, I can only give it a 3. The reintroduction of Grandpa Max is fantastic, but aside from that, that's really all this episode has going for it in terms of the interesting highlights. Gwen's brother is more confusing than neat. The alien transformation seemed like an afterthought, and it takes a bit to get the episode rolling, but once we're there, it's a pretty good time. That leaves this episode off at an 18 out of 25. Let's wrap things up in our final thoughts. Now, I'm gonna be honest, with the Phantom Fancast, 5YL, and other projects we got going on, I didn't really have time for a final thoughts section this week, but I didn't have many final thoughts to begin with. This breakdown was already pretty wordy and rambly, but I do want to give this week's poll real quickly. Of course, with the title, I'm asking, do you think Max's sacrifice is ruined because he survives? You can say no, because it was a good scene regardless. No, because it still develops Ben as a character. You don't have to care either way. Yes, but you're happy he comes back anyways, which is kind of what I think. Or yes, you would have liked him to stay dead. Let me know what y'all think in the community tab, but until next time, I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. And as always, keep it fizzy.